right, good morning. Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to the Associate Guest. I am your host, Alfie Animus, as always, here at the Bear in Mind channel. Today, Twitch has yet another controversy that's going unpunished. And this one kind of has to do with our third story. Kind of, sort of. We get back with Vera Dark about Sweet Baby Inc.'s rebrand. A DoorDasher records a man naked and then accuses him of SA. And then Ubisoft firing Outlaw and Avatar devs. We'll see if we can get to that last story. But until then, let's get down with the first story. We're going to skip past Kill Tony here. Sorry, I've been catching up before the show every now and then. Let's get in with Asmongold and see what he's got.
Wasn't here. I'm not trying to be his friend though. Why was he a bitch? Come on.
So let me get this straight. Somebody said this girl assaulted them. I've been vocal.
It's hard enough seeing that voice come out of white women. This girl, I don't know if you've ever seen the campaign where a dude paid his Asian maid to sound like an old Southern, like the lady from Gone with the Wind. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. Like this seems very disingenuous.
About the situation originally and nobody cared. For context, she grabbed and held down Saeed, Faye Silky's assistant, on stream, while her friend Zoe Spencer twerked on him after he repeatedly said no and tried to get away and tried to take his clothes off. Now she's lying and saying that she didn't do shit when it happened on stream.
Look, and ladies, yes, it can happen to us if you're drunk and there's two of you. And he's trying to be nice and not catch charges his own self, because the second he throws y'all off, y'all hit a wall, the floor, break a nail, anything, that man's going to jail. Pretty sure it's a black man too. But this man is very casually and nicely trying to say, I'm not trying to get what you probably got.
They didn't even post the full thing. There is a part where they literally take me to the room and try to pull down my clothing. When it originally happened, most people were attacking me. I felt so uncomfortable talking about it. What is this?
And they'll call this dude gay. This happened to me myself. I'm not even the most attractive dude in the world. I got no clout, no fame, no nothing. And I've been called gay for turning a woman down. It's just being like, no, I'm good. Why not? Because I saw you sucking some dude off in the alleyway before, and I ain't trying to get none of that.
What is going on, man?
Zoe, he's not consenting. Huh? He's not consenting.
Oh my God. Saeed. Saeed, come here. Oh no.
Like forced twerking.
Hey, yo, cut the cameras. Yo, cut the cameras, bro. Zo, do your shit.
And you see this clip, right? Listen to this again.
Like, who wants to walk around being called that? That's embarrassing for him as a guy.
So she's saying that it's embarrassing for him that these two girls went up to him and assaulted him.
Why was he a bitch?
What a disgusting fucking bitch. There's no excuse for it.
I mean,
even if
hands
some
down,
guy is attracted to her, doesn't mean that everybody is. Why is this bitch on the platform right now? What is this? What's going on?
Like, and these videos are still on Twitch, from what I understand. But then again, Twitch is one of those that if you do something on another platform, you can't get taken down on this platform. They proved that at least once.
What is going on, man? Can you imagine if two guy streamers did that to a girl? Really? Like, imagine. This would be like national news. Like, you'd have every fucking person tweeting about how this is another example of culture and how men enable this stuff and everything. We'll put out a video about it. I mean, if they don't get banned, I'm gonna tell you this: Twitch is a supporter of assault.
Guys, don't worry. The CEO is having a good time.
I wish I was lying, but this is really what happened.
Man,
I was
he danced
talking to
like I
him. I'm
do.
like, maybe don't go out tonight. You know what I mean?
Over the past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, and Dan Clancy's been going through a lot lately. I mean, his best friend Hassan is being chased after by Elon Musk. He's got people looking at Dan Clancy himself because of Hassan Diddy Bin Laden Piker. Dan Clancy's been going through a lot lately, and I got to say, it's all deserved. It is all deserved. Speaking of which, I saw something, Peach Jars weighed in on the situation. I guess she's some kind of OF girl. But I saw somewhere that she put in, I'm not seeing it. Oh, crap, yeet. we go. Hopefully it'll be one of the first stories. Man, this guy posts a lot. Yeah, there it goes. But she's weighing in on the whole Tectone Hassan Piker situation.
He's probably going to break some shit down or not, because he's probably like, I don't want to give her attention, blah, 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 blah.
Why do OF people have podcasts? I just want to know. Like, no one watches the plot or anything like that. People just skip to the part that gets them, and then that's it. Do people care about these people's opinions? Any of them? I mean, same thing. Like ladies, if the anthropomorphic cow man from the most recent book and lady literary porn had a podcast, would you watch it? Be honest. Continuing.
Sweet Baby and has become desperate to get gamers to not pay attention to them anymore. And even though there were a few weeks where we were all talking about Collective Shout not paying attention to SBI, it wasn't enough for us to forget about them completely. And now they're completely overhauling their website. They're trying to rebrand their image.
Real quick, I'm gonna skip past this. Try to ignore the Asia curly pizza. I mean, it's a yellow flag. Oh, that's racist. I meant yellow as in cautionary. Anyway, I'm just gonna awkwardly. There we go. You can't see her anymore. The east wing of the White House that Donald Trump has partially bulldozed for this ballroom. One, he's paying for the ballroom out of his own pocket. From everything that I've seen, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but everything I've seen suggests that he's footing 200 to 250 million out of his own pocket to build this ballroom. People are saying, well, why is he spending this much money on something he's only going to be able to use for the next 3 years? I don't know. The man's 80. If he was planning on being emperor for life, how much more than 3 years does this man honestly have? Let's be real. Donald Trump will probably make it to 90 if he's lucky. That's about 10 years. 3 of those he's going to be president. Make it make sense. But from everything I've researched and read, the East Wing was built in the 1940s, not 17, whenever the fuck, 76. Well, not 1776. I think it was built by like 1802. In there somewhere. Don't. You know what? I already sound stupid, but when was the White House originally built? I don't know why I'm doing this, because it was all burned down during the War of 1812. But 1792 architect, and then I know it was burned down the War of 1812. I shouldn't be looking at it, but yes, and yes, the White House was actually burned down in 1812, and all these people coming on saying that he's burning down our house. He's burning down our house. It is not your house. It is America's house, yes. And so long as the man don't try to stay past his 4-year term, I mean, it's going to be his house for the next 3 years and some change. But I mean, I'm okay with it. I really am. I got no feelings either way. I just think it's funny that people are crying that he's tearing something down that was built in the 1940s, that has been riddled with construction issues, that this was back before we had a lot of the policies and safety deals that we have now. So it probably had a lot of issues going on with it. The 1940s was not a good year for construction. But anyway, let's continue. Sorry,
and it's
Bear.
not going to work. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community and my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, people like me and you are never going to forget about Sweet Baby Inc.'s existence, even though they would love for that to happen. Kim Belair has said in the past that she wants to exist in the shadows, and she doesn't want people paying attention to what this company is doing because they know that they are really just grifting off this industry, and
They really
gamers are not willing to stay silent on that. We will call these people out.
I'm just looking forward to video games being made by people who actually like video games and the community and everything that comes with that, instead of people who are just trying to make a check.
Every single day, if that's what it takes to get our point across. Now, they had previously wiped their website. They had tried to take a lot of the information, like the developers they have off of it, the companies that they've worked with, and the games that they are helping on off their webpage to try to kill some of the backlash. They hoped that by making it harder for people to find what games they'd worked on, they wouldn't be as heavily criticized and those games wouldn't be boycotted. But that hasn't worked. Even games like Winter Burrow are facing major backlash, and now it looks like in a little over a year, Sweet Baby Inc. has completely overhauled their website to eliminate most of their pro-DEI verbiage. Now, we know that this is what cultural Marxists do. They take a certain set of words and then they stop using them, and then they either reword the same exact programs and initiatives. They will try to confuse people by changing those terms, and it really all just means the same thing. But they want to try to convince you that what they're doing is really different and they're acting differently, but we know that that is not the case. And unfortunately, right, Sweet Baby Inc. is not going to go away anytime soon, and they make a lot of money off of large companies, and so what are they going to do? They're going to try to convince you that they've
And these organizations and consultation firms like these are part of the reason why a lot of entertainment costs a lot more than it actually should, because it's clearly not going into the content, and especially clearly not going into the writing of said content. But no, this is where a lot of them come from, because they get paid millions and millions of dollars to just come in there and be like, I mean, basically the South Park meme about Kathleen Kennedy. And I'm not an anti-diversity guy, 100% not. I give just as much to the staunch anti-woke people, the people who see, my God, the people that see any kind of diversity and are like, oh, it's DEI. No, that's just Black Panther. He's always existed. Well, at least, since as long as you've been alive. But it has to fit the story, like what's it, Rings of Power. And I get it; these are fantasy worlds and whatnot. But the way that they're written, people from different areas, the same way that Game of Thrones did, people from the Southlands were this shade, people from across the sea were this. The same way the actual world is. That's one of the few things that I like about fantasy, because it makes the world feel lived in. If you put modern day big urban city standards to small villages in fantasy tales, it seems really forced and disingenuous. Like for plays or whatever, especially if you're trying to make everyone feel included in a play, that's fine, 100%. Do whatever you do. Or for made-for-TV stuff like the Brandy as Cinderella, sure, whatever. I don't care if you do an all-black cast. Like when they did Fantastic Four, I was like, I don't care if you make it the Blacktastic Four, because frankly, I like Michael B. Jordan a whole hell of a lot than that obnoxious girl that played Sue Storm in Fanforstic. I don't care. And honestly, I think I picked out a whole cast for that particular movie at the time. I'll have to look and see if I can find it somewhere. It was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. My castings are usually pretty good. But especially considering how old Pedro Pascal is compared to the rest of the cast of the new Fantastic Four, I mean, I would throw Denzel in there at least let him get his bad guy role as Doctor Doom, I think he would be a good Doctor Doom. But let's continue.
Changed even though they haven't. So when DEI Detected emerged in 2024, it was no secret that not only was SBI pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion narratives in video games, but they were bragging about it. We're part of an inclusive and knowledgeable community of diverse consultants able to cover a wide range of cultural and sensitivity topics. Our approach leads with the creation of joy in marginalized players. Today, most of SBI's website is gutted. There are no tabs for projects, approach, or outreach that were visible in 2024. In fact, they don't even offer a newsletter anymore, but the internet never forgets. No matter what their team says, the company always puts diversity at the...
I mean, everything's always out there. The internet never forgets, and there's always one person who has everything cataloged. But overall, if it's not actively in your face, we get so much news these days that the internet forgets pretty quickly. Let's be honest. Look at politics. Nobody remembers Joe Biden having people go through the streets to make sure people got back in their house during COVID. People were shooting at people just peeking out their doors, wondering, "Hi, what's going on out here?" The videos are out there.
Forefront of its projects, and as I always say, diversity in entertainment is very important, but at the same time, so is good storytelling, so are good characters, so are good products. And if you're just saying, oh, because it's diverse, that makes it good, that's a straight up lie. You have to have these other elements that are really high quality along with diverse characters. If a character is diverse because that's just the best character to fit with the story, that's perfectly fine. But if you're...
Or if it's the character the story was written for. And that's the biggest thing here. Nobody cares about any of the rest of it. But it's my rule. And you can go by this if you wish, probably not. But if I hear about the diversity of the cast, whether it be black, whether it be women, whether it be gay, trans, a dwarf, how the girl from, what was it, Echo was an American Indian amputee, mute, who was also deaf. I was just like, oh, this one's really going to suck because they're really leaning into this. They spent more time focusing on the fact that she was a one-legged deaf girl than any of the plot. And they wasted, my man, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the old Indian fella from Free Willy. I love that dude. Everything he pops up in, what was he, in Dances with Wolves? He's been in a lot of stuff over the years, and he's fantastic in everything that he's in. I think his name's Graham. He died recently, and I hate that that's the last big thing that I saw him in. But if you hear about all these things before you hear anything about the plot or things that they're doing with camera work or this or that, it's going to suck. And they're using these people that they claim to stand for as human shields against all criticism. That way, you'll be mad at whatever oppressed people they're utilizing for clout rather than being mad at the sons of bitches who put this shit in your eye on this platform for you to consume in the first place. This is why I always say, unless the actor or actress is getting online and talking a bunch of shit, like the girl from all that shit he started, The Acolyte, or anything like that, unless they're doing that, don't get on these actors and actresses. Kelly Marie Tran didn't deserve a lot of the crap that she got for The Last Jedi until she started talking shit. But she put up with a lot before that, let's be honest. And Kelly Marie Tran, if you're out there, I don't blame you for Rose Tico being a bad character. You did your best with her, and that's all we can ask for you as an actress. A lot of Star Wars writing is very cringe, even the Lucas stuff. Let's be fair. But it's written to be old news serial type stuff. It's an homage to a time gone by. But what we should really be mad about is Disney taking the black dude off of the advertisement in China while making us here in America think that he was the Jedi. Continuing.
Just having, 50% of your cast be super diverse in order to check off boxes on a checklist, yeah, that's not good, and people will reject that every single time. Our mission is to...
What's my point? My point is they don't care. if they cared about all these points that they were making, one, they would hold the same beliefs overseas in the Middle East and in China and all these countries that don't have our values. They would hold the same thing. In China, they don't like seeing gay people or black people on screen, and they certainly don't like to see them in advertisement. These are facts. That's why Finn was taken off the advertisement for Star Wars. He was definitely taken off of it in episode 8 and 9. I couldn't remember. I don't remember ever seeing the one for Force Awakens, but he was taken off in the other ones, while initially being made to seem like he was the hero in all the advertisements leading up to the release of The Force Awakens. So you're getting two very different things. And for Finn to speak out against the fan base when he was done more dirty by Disney Star Wars, I understand they're paying him, but come on, man. If you're going to speak out about something, be brave and speak out against the people who are signing your check. But don't have to be. There are plenty of other people out there, and you're a very talented actor. You've been in great stuff. You weren't paid as well as you were for the Disney stuff, but, I mean, how much is your soul worth, brother?
Tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video games industry, which is so funny because the video game industry has always been diverse. There's always been women and people of color and people of different sexualities that are part of this industry. But, they have to ignore that in order to push their narrative now. So, other services included cultural consultation, sensitivity and inclusivity reading, risk and opportunities assessment. Included on their outreach page, SBI positioned itself as being dedicated to fostering new talent in the gaming industry, along with providing resources. The company said it can get the industry where it needs to be by developing diverse talent and hilariously transparent industry dialogue. The company also listed portfolio reviews, mentorships, and workshops as being available to the right person. Under a small baby Q&A section, one question was answered by a narrative designer and an inclusion editor.
Look, me personally, I do not care about the skin tone or the gender of the person who I'm getting content from, as long as it's good. Bo DeMayo is a gay black man, and he's made probably some of the best Marvel content that I've seen in a very long time. Since Endgame, I would say since Infinity War, since Endgame was kind of... But let's be honest, Bo DeMayo, and he's great. Not only has he blown the whistle on a lot of stuff that was going on the set of The Witcher with Netflix, about how rude they were to Henry Cavill, and all he wanted to do was show love to the source material because he had that love for the source material. But he was told that he was problematic. And you've all seen him in interviews and on little side things. He's always having fun. He's always smiling. He seems like the genuine article when it comes to fan love and love of all these sources that he's getting. And he keeps getting screwed over. He got screwed over by DC. He got screwed over by The Witcher. They made a joke about it in Deadpool. It's pretty funny. The Cavalrine. But yeah, and Bo DeMayo blew the whistle on all the things that were going on with X-Men 97. People were telling him to do things that you would think he'd be down with just because most of the people who are gay in Hollywood tend to go with a certain narrative. But Bo DeMayo puts the source material first. He squeezed in a few things here and there, and I got no problem with that. I don't really care that Morph is a they-them or that he may be in love with Wolverine because they did it tastefully and properly. You have to remember, this is a spin-off and a continuation of a 90s project. So we didn't have all the things that we have now. We don't have a lot of the stuff, a lot of the focuses on story that we do now, because back then we focused on story. And Bo DeMayo, who probably grew up with it like I did and a lot of you did, had that love for the source material. And even the really crappy Korean final season. But he paid tribute to it, and he did a damn good job. And we've interacted on X, one of the few somewhat famous people that I've interacted with. But he's he's a peach. He's wonderful, and I hope to God that they didn't ruin his vision for season 2 through however many they get. And I truly believe that the only reason that they gave him all kinds of crap because apparently he was flirting with a couple people he worked with, who were also men, from what I understand, because again, gay. I really think that was overblown, just because they wanted him out because he was so outspoken about getting things done correctly. And that's a passion we want in Hollywood. That's not something we want to drive away. Nobody's perfect. Should he have done some of the other things that he had done? It depends on the context. It really does. But we don't know that much about it because they didn't put much out about it. They just said, oh, look at this. There's a little bit of controversy. Let's get rid of him because he's causing us trouble anyway.
Terms like
Bo DeMayo, hit me up. I want to brainstorm about how to save the MCU.
diversity and representation were rampant on the site, especially on the approach page, where an entire section was dedicated to representation. It previously had said, oh, baby Q&As, and how they have podcasts and external resources and how to prepare a great portfolio. But as time has gone on and they have erased all of these different things from their website, it really seems like they are trying their best to erase their past and who they were. Even though they're not changing internally, they're still doing all of this. They're just not using the same terminology, and they're not putting it on display for the world to see. It really does come across as like a major rebranding, but it's not going to work for them. The name Sweet Baby Inc. is now tarnished, and sure, while there might be some companies that will still work with them in the future, it's going to be significantly less than would have 2 or 3 years ago. And I don't think that gamers are going to magically start accepting the products that they're working on, because it's clear that all of these games do poorly, either critically, commercially, it doesn't matter. In some way, they are a letdown. Alan Wake 2 barely made its money back this year. Battle Shapers, a game that nobody's talking about anymore. Breeze, nobody's talking about it anymore. Spider-Man 2 completely disappointed people compared to the first game, South of Midnight.
It really did. I do know a lot of people that have played it and like it. You know what I mean? Like, I still enjoyed God of War 2, and I haven't played this, but Suicide Squad was god-awful.
Was a letdown. We were talking about game after game after game that either doesn't make money, doesn't get good scores, or instantly is dead on arrival. It says for major studio games like Alan Wake 2, SBI said it worked on character arc, voices, and even provided a sensitivity reading. For God of War Ragnarok, the company said it worked on narrative and character consultation with a focus on representation. For others, SBI cited narrative direction and even world building, implying a heavy hand in the production. Kill the Justice League, which was of course a massive failure, lost over $250 million, may I add.
What a horrible follow-up to the Arkham series, and it's supposed to be in the same universe. This is why people keep saying, hey, it's made by the same people that made this. It's made from the same studio that made this. Let's be honest, all the good people moved on and probably started their own studio by now, and I really wish they had the rights.
Actually allowed SBI to do its banter and cutscenes. For one game called Lost Your Marbles, SBI said it did the full game development, and very rarely is a DEI consultation company willing to admit what it does. Typically, when these types of consultations are brought up, the narrative destroyers deny having any significant input and chalk up criticisms to generic forms of hate. This happens almost uniformly across the industry, and it's just so sad that these people have gotten so much money and so much attention from the large companies within this industry, but I don't think it's going to stay that way forever. So while Sweet Baby Inc. is hiding, of course, some of the terminology they've used in the past. They're almost trying to rebrand themselves. Gamers are never going to forget, and it's so important that with every move they make, we call it out because they deserve to be heavily criticized.
Yes.
But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you.
Guys, get on over there and support Vera Dark. She's very good at what she does. And she's, I know I keep saying this, she sounds like the lady from the radio show on the 90s movie A League of Their Own. To me. Mr. Harvey, like your candy bars, you're completely nuts. But let's continue. So apparently a DoorDasher records a naked man and claims she was SA'd. So let's see what's going on with that.
Hot take. The reason why I believe all women as a movement doesn't have the same gusto and strength as it did years ago is because it falls in the same category as BLM. Something that everyone should agree is important to talk about. People being violated, discriminated against, hated on, hurt feelings, hurt emotions, and sometimes dead bodies that deserve to be talked about in order to gain justice. The problem is that the stories that actually matter, you know, the real ones, don't get as much traction as the glitz and the glamour of somebody making it very dramatic for social media, because unless it hits that nice little nugget in your brain, your attention span is not going to care. And then there's the added element of stories being believed that are fake more than believing stories that are actually real, that have actually gone to court, and people have either seen justice or not seen justice in a way that can make people understand that, oh, this is a real thing going on, but I don't see it because social media is giving me a bunch of people wanting me to care about one story that's complete and utter BS. And in saying that, let me see if I got my ducks in a row with the topic of today's video. A woman gets on social media and says that she was the victim of assault, and she reported it to her place of employment, DoorDash, and they decided to reprimand her for being assaulted.
Hey guys, so DoorDash just deactivated me 2 days after I reported my
First thing I'm noticing, the camera is shaking quite a bit, and this woman has crazy eyes.
sexual assault. Hey guys, I just lost my job, and they won't tell me why. They're supposed to send an email immediately after deactivation providing you the reason why and a link to appeal, and they didn't. So I contacted support, and they made me sit on the phone with them for 50 minutes just to tell me that they can't tell me the reason why, and I have to just go ahead and appeal without knowing why. So my chances of getting my account back, they have my money in that account.
She hasn't blinked.
I was working.
There she goes.
I was literally working, and they deactivated me. This is related. They just punished me for posting about my sexual assault while door dashing. They just fired me, and the police are doing nothing. I lost my job, and that was my only way to make money to pay my bills. 3 days ago, October 12th, 2025, I was a victim of SA by a DoorDash customer while I was doing my job as a DoorDash driver. Excuse me if you've already seen this. This is my third time posting this because TikTok keeps silencing me and taking my videos down and giving me strikes. So if I get one more strike, you guys, I'm just letting you know right now my account is going to be banned. So I'm going to try to word this as chill as possible to avoid getting this video striked. So on October 12th, 2025, the DoorDash customer requested that their order be left at their front door. And when I arrived at their front door,
And just so you know, once you hear the final story, this little section where her top went open a little bit is kind of hilarious due to what actually happened. But she basically almost just did the same thing to you as was done to her. The only difference is she's awake.
Front door was wide open. Their lights were on, and they were sleeping on the couch within eyesight of the front door with their pants and underwear pulled down to their ankles, and they were indecently exposed to me.
And also, let me point out, I've watched a few things on this. I don't think he hits it in this one, but the door was not wide open. The door was cracked, according to her in the original video. The original video's gone, but yeah, the door was cracked by all intents and purposes. But either way, I mean, me personally, if I saw a door wide open, I would peek in, be like, is everything okay? Just make sure there wasn't any signs of a struggle. and then look around, and if everything's cool, I would leave the food on the porch and then just pull it back to a crack so people from the street can't see that this person's door is wide open. I ain't gonna close it, and I would probably still be fired by DoorDash. But let's just continue. But if I saw anyone, male or female, I would not post it on TikTok, and I would not send pictures to DoorDash. My God.
I got this on video, and I'm not even going to be posting the video clip anymore because I'm pretty sure that's what's getting me the strike.
And why is she in a robe in all the videos talking about this?
But yeah, I reported it to DoorDash, and DoorDash did ban the customer. And then 2 days later, DoorDash banned me, which doesn't seem unrelated. I appealed, and they were supposed to respond to my appeal within 7 to 10 business days. They didn't even provide me a reason for my deactivation. They're supposed to send an email. They didn't. So I contacted support, and they told me to continue with my appeal without knowing a reason why. There's an option to select, don't know why I was deactivated, and then you still have to explain yourself. So I did. And within 12 hours afterward, they had already denied my appeal. So I'm really never getting my DoorDash account back. DoorDash deactivated me. DoorDash punished me for exposing my assaulter, and TikTok is currently punishing me for exposing my story time. And this is the only justice I'm getting because
none of this is true. They fired her. Well, they put her on a hiatus, the same way they put the customer on hiatus. But the reason they did this was because you sent a picture of a customer naked, not only to DoorDash, but you posted it online, and then you lied about what happened.
I also reported this to the police, and the police are doing nothing. So what? You're gonna take down my videos and give me strikes and just expect me to be like, oh, I just better shut up. I just better sit here and be quiet. I just better not say anything else. I've lost my job, my only way to pay my bills and make a living. I've also gotten assaulted, and the police are doing nothing to help me. So let me just shut up. You know, the videos got taken down. Nobody has to know what happened to me. No. I'm going to keep telling my story. Like, this is the only justice I'm getting, is exposing this man and having posted that video and it has gone viral. Like, now he can live with shame and embarrassment if people have seen it and knows who he is or where he... You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the one being punished. He's not getting in trouble with the police. He didn't lose his job if he has one. Like, what's going on with him? Why am I getting fired? Why are my videos getting taken down, and why am I getting strikes? Like, I'm about to lose my account. I was assaulted. I'm the victim. I lost my job. I'm the victim. Right? Is this making sense to any fucking body?
No.
You guys, my account is currently at risk of being banned because I had to explain my story one time, right? They took the video down and gave my account a strike. So I explained my story again and censored the video that I have just so they can't take it down for the same reason. They took it down for the same reason again, and now my account has a second strike. Guess what? If I get one more strike, I'm banned from TikTok. So not only did I get assaulted 3 days ago,
so stop
on October 12th
posting
on
pictures
Sunday,
of man's
I then
schmeat.
lost my job. The police are doing nothing. And if I get one more account strike on TikTok, my account's done. This is a man's world. I'm the victim. Remember? I'm the victim. And they took down my video. They were going to have to pay me for my second story time because that was over a minute long. They were...
And that... The fact that she's talking about money is kind of a red flag.
They're going to have to pay me for all those views I got. So nope, they took that right down. They took that right down. Absolutely not. They're not paying me for that. Nope.
And of course, that goes viral. People are concerned. People are boycotting DoorDash because how can you have an employee coming to you and telling you that she had been assaulted and you decide to reprimand her? DoorDash puts out a statement.
Because
and
unlike you,
the one
DoorDash
thing that's
did a little
very
research.
interesting about where we stop is that we live in a world where social media and phones will always be an element that one has to play in regards to stories going viral, because you would think someone in an interaction could have the ability, it's not always 100%, but could have the ability to record any weird interactions that they have. And what's so interesting about this woman is that she added in a tasty little nugget when people were responding to what I believe to be her first video on said subject matter.
Here's an update for anybody who's interested. I commented, but my comment's getting buried in my comment section. I reported this to DoorDash over 12 hours ago, and they're supposed to call me back, which is strange because I've reported a couple less serious incidents before, and they called me back within 1 to 2 hours. for those reports. So I don't know what's going on there, but I didn't report this to the police last night because I wasn't sure of DoorDash's process for like SA, or if this was even reportable to the police in New York State because he was in his home. But after so many people told me to report it to the police, I did. And I called the non-emergency line, and they sent a police officer over to speak to me in person and watch the video that I have. And then he asked me to email it to him, and he asked me if I want to press charges, like what do I want to come from this? And I said, yeah, if there are charges to press, I would prefer that because I don't want this to happen to somebody else again. And he understood that, the police officer, and then he went back out to his car, and then he came back to me, and he told me, like, this is pretty much verbatim. It's not verbatim, but, like, it's the point that he said. He said he's not sure if that there are charges that can be pressed at this point because he was inside of his house, and specifically he said it's not like he came up to his door with it out or, like, his window with it out or whatever. But it's like, come on now. Like, how likely is it that it's cold outside? It's pretty chilly. Your ceiling fan is on. You got all your lights on in your house. You got your front door open, right? You just ordered DoorDash 15 minutes ago. And within 15 minutes of ordering DoorDash and it getting delivered to your front door, you're asleep on the couch with your pants and your underwear to your ankles, your front door wide open, your lights on, It's freezing outside. Like, come on now. That is voyeurism. That is exhibitionism.
That is alcoholism.
Was something against
he probably
my own
fell
will
asleep.
that I was fulfilling for that man. Oh, and I forgot to say, the police officer said he was going over to the residence of that DoorDash customer to speak to him and see what his side of the story is, what he has to say about what was going on with him. And then another major factor that we're not even considering is that man lives in a duplex. In that video, you'll see another door next to his. That's another apartment unit right next to his. That could be a family. Anybody could walk out. See, listen, if I wasn't the target, you still shouldn't be whacking it off, whether you're drunk or under the influence of any substances, with your door wide open regardless, because anybody could walk out and get assaulted from that, seeing what you're doing on your couch. It could be a child.
Seeing that right there, seeing what you're doing on your couch is not assault. It's indecent exposure, maybe harassment, but it is not assault. Learn what words mean. And maybe calm down a little.
Anybody could come up on your porch and see that. Anybody walking by on the sidewalk and accidentally getting a glance,
yes, 100%.
would be a victim.
And what's interesting is that video is no longer available on her social media accounts. And it made my brain click in thinking, what's deleted here that I can't see? And conveniently, I believe this woman was also talking about how TikTok was silencing her. And so I waited in trying to see if I could find video of this assault being taken place or anything that could let me know that this woman was about to be assaulted. And I found this video.
That's fucked up.
What's so interesting about that is that it doesn't show me assault. It doesn't show me a verbal interaction. It doesn't show me an altercation. It shows me what looks to be a guy passed out in his home with his nuts out, and this woman recording him.
It's gross.
And it hitting social media, which I'm not too certain, but I feel as though is a crime. And
but me personally, I like I said, I would have closed the man's door. I may even have said close the door, take a picture of his food on his thing, and then maybe set it inside and then close the door, just as a courtesy. This man's obviously having a fucked up day. If he did it on purpose, then yes, the man should be arrested for indecent exposure or whatever. Because like she said, he does live in a duplex, but for all she knows, the duplex is empty. There's a lot of factors here that we don't know. One factor we do know is she was not assaulted.
And would warrant DoorDash to say, hey, we're going to get you off of our employment because you broadcasted a man's nuts on social media.
Yes.
And then tried to scapegoat it as you were assaulted. And now I am someone who tends to try to understand public indecency and things that you're not supposed to see in any given moment. And while it is weird that a man's door is wide open and he is susceptible to being robbed in that moment because he's passed out with his nuts out.
Hold on, pause real quick. So somebody saying this swarm is saying that Kathleen Kennedy deserves an apology. This dude's definitely a shit poster. It's a gun who makes a good point, saying Star Wars was culturally relevant for decades. She killed it within 5 years of being in charge of it. When she dies, the media and Hollywood will portray her as a visionary. Then an article will drop in 2040. Disney finally breaks even on Star Wars. These are facts. I don't think she'll be dead by 2040, but the fact that they bought Star Wars from George Lucas in, what was it, like 2012, 2014, somewhere in there? And they haven't broke even on it. And it's been almost 15 years. Between 10 and 15 years, we'll say, to be fair. It speaks a lot to her. Because I think the first movie made a lot. The second movie made at least $1 billion. And the third one, as bad as it was, made less. And then that movie was so bad that it caused Solo to bomb and lose money. But you have to think, we're talking about earnings with this. They paid 4 point something billion to George Lucas for Star Wars. And yes, while movies make something billion, that's not profit. That's not offsetting how much it costs to make and market the film, each film. Those are different categories altogether. And yeah, it's just and as much money as they've been pouring into Star Wars, especially for streaming services, they've probably lost money, if I'm being real. But anyway, sorry. Let's continue. Side tangent over.
Maybe post-nut clarity plays a factor here.
It could.
Maybe he's trying to get his rocks off. Who knows? All of these things are ways that you could look at this. But what's important to recognize is that this woman got on camera and made this big spectacle about being assaulted. And based on video, that didn't happen. Now, maybe there's Ring camera footage or a second camera angle that shows this woman getting chased down by a naked man and unfortunately getting penetrated, but we don't see that at all. So it's a little bit difficult for me to sit here and believe that you were assaulted. Now, having to see something like that is annoying and is a little bit weird, but to record that and make it out to be something you are broadcasting online, I believe puts you in hot water more than it puts him in hot water. And to make it even worse, it would be something where I could maybe be on your side if he was looking you dead in your eye and stroking himself down, but he's clearly passed out. He's clearly not aware.
I mean, basically, he's saying if he's looking at you the same way that Rick James looked at Eddie and Charlie Murphy when he was digging his feet into his couch, then yes, 100%. That is intentional, but the man was asleep. Leave the food and fuck off. That's it. Maybe close the door if you're really worried about those neighbors. But you didn't. You pulled out your phone and went live. I'm saying
that you're there. So it makes it worse for you in that moment by recording that and broadcasting it to social media for people to see. But you know what? I'm often labeled as a misogynist for these takes because apparently I want to see women back in the kitchen because apparently I have the sensation of seeing a woman cook, even though I am the greatest chef of all time. So if you'll allow me to honor the Midnight Society just a little bit, ladies.
To the DoorDash girl who recorded that man in his home undressed after claiming that DoorDash fired you because you were SA'd, and really you stepped into that man's house to record him, posted his address, posted it online, that man is going to take you for everything you got.
Yo, I didn't hear the first time I went through this that she posted his address. I guess that was one of the thing that was blurred out in the bottom left that wasn't up there where his schmeat was. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Like that, stupid shit like that, even if the man did do anything. Well, no, not even if the man did anything. But even if the dude was awake looking at you, you still get in trouble for posting it online. Just call the cops. You pulled your phone out. That was the right step. But you went to record live on TikTok instead of calling the police right then. You have TikTok brain. What is wrong with you? And as someone who's currently going through your TikTok and apparently Instagram, you got some weird shit on here. There's one where she's got a couple lewd pictures of herself, and then on photo 3, a picture of her kid. I'm guessing it's her kid. It's a young child. That's when I got off of her thing. It said, if you got a problem with it, why don't you try taking a seat on my face? I'm just like, that's the thing to say in general. But she's saying it with picture number 3 or 4 being of a small child. Some of y'all are crazy. I'll never understand how some of y'all on Instagram and TikTok will post a lot of sexy shit, and then here's pictures of me and my kids having fun, daytime fun. What?
Did y'all see the video of the girl on here shaking and crying that DoorDash fired her for being SA'd? Said that she still had money on that account that helped her pay her bills. So after getting 20, 30 million views, people even saying they're deactivating their account because this is atrocious. Someone shouldn't lose their job for being SA'd. DoorDash then released a statement on their end saying that's not what happened. She wasn't fired for being SA'd. She was fired for recording a man in his home, posting his address online for clicks and views. And so now that everyone knows the truth, she then gets online and say, oh, DoorDash, they told y'all before they told me. You can't come online saying that someone SA'd you. You recorded them naked and posted online. Not only is that a disrespect to people who've actually been SA'd, to even weaponize your tears to get that man arrested is insane. You better lawyer up before he does.
You know, another thing about this is the perfect example of why women don't get taken seriously when we report sexual assault now as it is, because you have people like this who throw this word around so casually, so lightly, that when somebody, say God forbid, someone goes through some egregious things and they try to report it, and now it's, oh, did that really happen? What actually happened to you? When a victim really shouldn't have to be questioned like that to begin with. But when you have people that come on just looking for attention, wanting so bad for the man to be the bad guy that you go through lengths.
I like where she started. I didn't like where she finished. Everyone who accuses anyone of anything should have to be questioned. There should be some sensitivity in those questions and how those questions are presented, of course. That's why you should have some kind of counselor there, some. But anyone accusing anyone of anything should always be questioned. Yes, of course. You need as many details as possible. But you need to have a nice way of getting them out. Like, I don't understand why this is even anyway.
In order to get him labeled as a sexual deviant when the whole time he's literally minding his business in his house is crazy. And then to get on the internet and, like, be mad at the internet for dissecting and seeing what happened, like you're not the one who posted it on the internet for the public to see. Imagine a woman being in her house naked and a man delivery driver pulling up, taking a picture of her and posting it on the internet. That man would be in jail. Period. Yeah. Like I said, y'all really need to stop throwing this word around so casually, because it's honestly becoming like a problem, an epidemic, honestly.
I know ball when I see it, and I peep something about the DoorDash situation. Let's be clear, I'm not here to argue how she felt. Feeling violated or offended is a matter of opinion, not fact. But when we start to label things as sexual assault, we have to separate things from what's factual and what's feeling. She posted multiple follow-up videos, and there's one in particular I want to bring attention to.
Pay me for my second story time because that was over a minute long. They were gonna have to pay me for all those views I got. So nope, they took that right down.
Look, I can't even say the word ass in the comment section without getting a violation. Here she's saying TikTok removed her video because they're trying to silence her essay, and the fact that it was over a minute, she wasn't going to be able to get paid for it. And that right there, that's what raised my eyebrow. Because when you're making a video about serious accusations, and in the same sentence using the word monetization, it starts to feel like maybe there were other motives in how this was presented. And again, she might have genuinely felt unsafe. But once you post somebody asleep, naked, in their own home, without their consent, and push a narrative that suggests physical assault, let's be honest, the essay narrative was exaggerated. Hot take, we've officially reached a point where people prefer outrage over logic. The DoorDash rage. Let's think critically instead of emotionally for a second. Performative anger often drowns out fairness and context. Are the smart people still in the room with me? This girl's discomfort, completely valid. No one should have to feel unsafe during a delivery. But calling it sexual assault and blasting his face online without proof, that's a bold accusation that can destroy someone's life if it was a misunderstanding. Maybe he was being inappropriate. Or maybe he's just a dumbass who fell asleep with the door open. Jumping to pervert assumes intent purely because he's a man. You can't tell me that's not what's happening here. Do you disagree? Let's flip it for a second. If it was a woman asleep on the couch, would anyone say she was assaulted? Would there even be a video? If any part of you agrees, I've proven my point.
Yes.
We can protect women and still value fairness. Both things can be true. All the facts aren't there. You're right.
And I love people who say both things can be true at the same time, especially when it is two things that can be true at the same time. This person needs to run for office. Which is kind of a low bar, but I'm sure she's done other good things in her life with the logic that she's using here being pretty sound. Look, and it's okay to say that both people are at fault in some way. 100%. The man was naked with his door open, whether it was cracked or fully open. He was clearly not of sound mind. Something was fucked up about that day. But let's continue.
Rushing to judgment. That's not the same as defending him. Intent matters. So ask yourself, is it possible you're projecting or assuming based on patterns you've seen before?
And especially in the original video where she filmed it, she seemed more confused and slightly put off than someone who would later go on to say that she was, in fact, SA'd.
Second clip with a preloaded narrative. If any ounce of you can say yes, conversation over.
What I don't like about this so far is that I'm recording this on Monday night, and it's been almost a week. And this woman, who was very loud in her sentiments, who was very loud in her describing that something happened to her, has gone radio silent. And maybe it's a matter of legal strategy. Maybe she's bringing this to the police. But to be so confident into broadcasting all the updates and then noticing the tide turning on you and now you go radio silent creates that conversation that you were lying, creates the conversation that you weren't telling the truth, creates that conversation where, unfortunately, it's going to be brought up, no matter how much people don't want it to be brought up, how believing all women is something that people aren't really going to do, and how you're going to have people who are going to say, everyone tries to lie on a man, everyone tries to...
And it really should be listen to women. 100%. If you see anyone upset, and see, that's the thing. If you see someone upset and you ask them what they're... First of all, don't start by telling them to smile. But see what's wrong with them. And do it without any contact. I'm saying, it'll do wonders for you. And, well, for them. And for you, in their opinion. But just make sure that if you see someone upset, say something. Listen to what's going on with them. But believe all of anybody. Believe all men, believe all women, believe all white, believe all black, believe all gay, believe all straight, believe all trans, believe all not trans. Believe they, them. None of this works because and this is another thing that drives me nuts. There are liars and dishonest, horrible people in any group. In any group. You have to recognize that. You can't believe all of anything. Doing that's going to do horrible things for everybody. I don't even know why this is controversial.
Make men out to be these monsters and evil all the time, and we just sit there, play video games and work out, and men never do that. And we know that that's a lie. There are men out there that do that, and that's the reason why women choose the bear. But in this moment, in this specific scenario, you don't paint yourself out to be the victim. You paint yourself out to be somebody desperate for a little bit of attention the dumbest way possible, and that doesn't help you making money, and doesn't help that man. Because imagine ordering DoorDash because you fucking Americans are too lazy to cook and you pass out. Maybe you jerk off, and maybe you have the sensation of jerking off to the cicadas that are outside, and because of post-nut clarity, you pass out and fall asleep, because it's scientifically proven, don't Google this, that once men reach a certain age, they jerk off to go to sleep. It's a helpful sleep aid, and you decide to just pass out, and you wake up to a bunch of notifications about your door being open and a woman accusing you of sexual assault, and you did None of that. That's disastrous, and it ruins your reputation. And I would hope that if this woman is very strong in her belief, she will have something more to produce than decrying that she is the victim of something that in real time it looks as if she brought upon herself because she recorded a man without his consent in his own home and broadcasted that on social media. And if I'm going to end this video, I'm going to end it like this. Be prepared for the battles you set yourself up in, because recording somebody without their consent in their own home while they're naked and broadcasting that to...
I will say, maybe record or take a picture just to show the police how you got there, and then call the police if you feel that something actually happened. But don't live stream it on TikTok. That is, even if you are truly a victim, that will put a lot of questionable faces in your direction.
TikTok,
and no
Twitter,
actual
and
victim
Instagram
should have to go through
is
that.
a dangerous game. And if there's anything to take from this video, I hope you took that doing that is very dumb to do.
All right.
Ubisoft is in an
Let's jump in quickly to see if we can get through this very one.
absolute state of disaster right now. They just fired the Assassin's Creed franchise boss. The co-studio with Tencent didn't go over well with gamers, and now it looks like they are going through even more layoffs.
But yes, keep that in mind. Not only has EA been bought mostly by Saudi Arabia, also partially by Trump's son-in-law, I think it is. But Tencent has made a side company to put all or most of Ubisoft's big franchises mostly in their control. Tencent is a Chinese corporation, which, given how well they've made video games over the last couple of years, could be seen as good. But these are just more examples of people cheapening American franchises or Eastern or Western franchises. Because let's face it, Ubisoft is not American, it's French, which is tragic in its own right. But Western franchises, and putting them in the hands of people who will... this is money that could be in our possession. And you have to recognize, at best, they might keep the studio open with a skeleton crew. At worst, they'll move all the production to another company. So not only are you letting those rich CEOs selling these companies after they've driven them through the ground, but you're putting it in the hands to where not even people in the country that you live in, whether it be France or America, and there's no jobs. You're losing the jobs. But considering right now most of the jobs held by video game developers don't seem to be by people who actually love video games. I'm a little torn. I don't want these people who don't actually care for the material having these properties, but I also want them in the hands of Americans. So I'm torn. Do I want good products made by people who don't maybe have our best interests at heart, or do I want shitty products made by people who also don't have our best interests at heart and did this, but still having the possibility of getting some good people in there? I don't know.
I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, when a studio makes bad games time after time after time, yeah, they had to have known that something like this was going to happen.
And let's just point out, one of the games was not bad. The Prince of Persia, most recent game, was not bad. But all the games preceding it in that franchise have been for several years. I think the last good one was Sands of Time, maybe. The one that the Jake Gyllenhaal movie was technically based off of, allegedly. That was the last good one in my memory. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be. I'm not very well attuned. This was during a dark period of my life where I didn't play too many games. But every other game has been a dud. Assassin's Creed Shadows, dud, due to them putting other things over good gameplay and historical fact checking. They put a Tory gate that was made within the last 50, that was put up in the last 50 years in a game in ancient Japan, not ancient, but feudal Japan. what? Not only that, this is the first game where you're playing as someone who probably actually existed. That's another thing. Like, I was cool if, like, you had DLC where you play as the dude, because no one cares about DLC because it's not the main story. Or if he was, like, a big companion character or whatever, you had a romance with him, sure. But making him the playable character, no, most of these characters are made up for pretty much all the Assassin's Creed games.
And now Massive Entertainment, a Ubisoft studio who had made Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, The Division, and Star Wars Outlaws, is going through major layoffs. Now, I think that it's so funny that they posted this massive statement just to say, yeah, we're getting rid of people. It says, as part of our ongoing evolution and long-term planning, we have recently realigned our teams and resources to strengthen our roadmap, ensuring our continued focus on the Division franchise and the technologies, including Snowdrop and Ubisoft Connect, that power our games. To support this transition responsibly, we introduced a voluntary career transition program, giving eligible team members the opportunity to take their next career step on their own terms, supported by a comprehensive package that includes financial and career assistance. Massive Entertainment remains fully committed to our roadmap and to creating great experiences for our players around the world, including The Division 2, The Division 2 Survivors, The Division Resurgence, and The Division 3. These projects continue with strength, focus, and ambition, and we look forward to sharing more in the future. Now, what they're not talking about are the games that they are inevitably dropping or development is done on, like Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. That is a game that actually had quite a bit of hype behind it initially, but it came out, it was buggy, it was broken, it didn't have a lot of in-depth systems. It was just a really mediocre game in general. And then Star Wars Outlaws made them no money. They put the most amount of money they ever had towards the marketing campaign for that game, and it still underperformed. And while those games have either wound down on development or they've just dropped them like a rock, they aren't talking about maybe those teams that were still making content.
Sorry, Baron. This is what I was talking about earlier.
But she always on them.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Saeed. Hey, come here. I got you. Saeed, come here.
So you can't. So you can't.
23.
No.
He's consensual.
No, he's not consenting.
Yes, he is.
He's not even saying nothing.
No. He likes it. Yeah, give.
Like he's running.
I don't think he wants to.
Okay, so this is the actual
Yeah, stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. Hold on. Hold on. Sit down.
Yo.
Okay, sit down. Sit down.
You very clear them.
You remind me of that one.
That's what I'm saying. Look, I don't care what gender you are. If you don't want it, you don't want it. That's just facts. If this was the opposite, if this was two dudes trying to dance on a girl, especially a small girl, because it's a very small dude, saying the things that these girls are saying, I'm saying. But yes, as Tectone's saying, permaban her, blatantly SA, but no one takes men getting it done seriously. It's absolutely disgusting, 100%.
For updates up until recently, because look at Avatar Frontiers of
people will call
Pandora.
him
They
gay.
only just recently announced that they're finally adding a
saying.
third-person mode to that game. Star Wars Outlaws was still supposed to have another round of DLC. It seems like those titles are just kind of done and over with, but Massive Entertainment clearly is going through massive problems right now, and Ubisoft in general is they need to refocus on what made them successful in the first place, and I don't necessarily know if making a bunch of new Division games is really what people want or really is what people are expecting, but I guess when they're trying to create these new series like Avatar and Outlaws and they didn't go well, they should go back to the drawing board, and I suppose they just think the Division
Hold on. Sorry.
is their best
Hey, I just
case
need
to
to
make
tag this
money.
and read it later.
I don't
I'm
know if
sorry.
I agree with that, but tons of gamers are now pointing and laughing because keep in mind, the Access Media had said all of these games were going swimmingly. Avatar had so much potential and so many people are going to love it. Star Wars Outlaws, that didn't go poorly. The evil chuds are just lying to you. And of course, we were proven right time and time again. But now gamers are ruthlessly mocking them. Corpo speak for, so you guys are fired. Asmongold said, welcome home, put the fries in the bag. Massive layoffs. Ubisoft is over, party. Y'all are getting replaced with AI.
Yo,
And as
Mr.
I always
Philip
say,
Chan.
I don't like the idea of AI replacing human beings. I think AI is an okay tool when used in moderation. I don't think that it should be completely replacing people's jobs.
Agreed.
But in this case, these developers are not actually making good content. In a lot of cases, they're just activists who found their way into the industry because of corporate checklists. And so they had to hire a certain percentage of women or people of color or X, Y, and Z sexuality. And then these people got jobs that they really didn't deserve in the first place. People should be hired based on their merits, not the color of their skin or their gender. But we know that's not really the way that the mainstream industry works now. And it is sad that people are getting laid off because inevitably there are a few good apples in this bunch that lost their job. But it's like with localizers, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and shed a tear for you and feel bad for you and run to your defense when you have ruined our entertainment. Now, I really don't...
Because localizers, if you don't know this, anime localizers, people who are supposed to translate everything in anime over to American stuff, they're also supposed to make their euphemisms and such, phrase them in a way that are more akin to our euphemisms, but instead they completely change the plot in a couple of them, or complete conversations. They'll throw in DEI stuff. I had a few examples of that, but I don't have them queued up currently because I did not watch this video like I did the other three. But let's continue.
Know how Ubisoft is going to save themselves in general. I know that the co-studio Vantage with Tencent is supposed to be a really big deal for them now that they've got their hands on Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, and they're really supposed to be coming up with long-term strategies for these series. But I do not trust Ubisoft. I don't think I will ever trust them again, and I don't trust Tencent either. So we're talking about just what sounds to me to be another desperate attempt to save their company. Now, will it work? Who knows? But at the same time, they have to downsize a lot of their teams. They have to try to come up with better ways to make money. And I guess they're just going all in on the Division. And a lot of gamers are just saying, why would anybody want a million Division games anyway? Career transition program is some real dystopian business speak for firing people. Voluntary career transition program, and we all know that that's not the case. They were probably told, hey, listen, you're going to be fired in the next 6 to 8 weeks, so you might as well join this program and try to find something in the meantime. Voluntary career transition, bitch, please just call them layoffs. It's so funny that companies will do anything but say the truth. They'll always try to look like the good guys and say, oh my gosh, we're trying to help people through these difficult times.
Because
no,
I agree
you do
with
not care because you fired them. They're clearly not good at their jobs, which is why you didn't want to keep them around. And therefore, you know, as a corporate entity, you're not going to cry over the fact that a couple of people are no longer on your payroll.
I mean, I might.
This is without question one of the most poorly written layoff press releases I've ever read in my life. And we've been talking again a lot about Ubisoft and everything they're going through. In my opinion, the company that says microtransactions make the player experience more fun is not a company I have a lot of faith in going forward. I don't know why anybody ever believed that a company like this ever cared about their player base, ever cared about their employees, ever cared about the health and state of the industry. They just care about lining their pockets, which of course a company should be worried about, but they are the ones who hired activists over the years. They are the ones who allowed these people to write what they wanted and not keep a closer eye on them. And that's why they've had so many terrible games released. They've had hundreds of millions of dollars to put into singular projects, never mind the billions they put into tons of games. And they're not hiring talented people. That's why you end up with Skull and Bones, X-Defiant, Star Wars Outlaws, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, tons of games that have been major failures and that did not live up to their expectations, and they think they can turn everything around with a few more microtransactions and say, oh, it's okay because it makes everything more fun for people, which definitely is a lie. So right now, gamers are pointing and laughing at everything that Massive Entertainment is going through, and like I always say, I do not revel in the fact that people are losing their jobs, but at the same time, if you suck so much at your job, you probably don't deserve to have it. So I'm curious to see if anybody that was laid off ends up coming out and trashing Ubisoft and leaks any information. We've been getting a lot of situations like that over the past couple of weeks, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video.
Okay.
Let everyone know your thoughts.
All right, not too huge of a video, but definitely not as much of a downer as the previous one. Yay! But, all right, guys. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. Today, bit of a slower news day. Mostly just social media controversy. There is some real world stuff going on, but you know, I don't like to cover the real world stuff as often. People like complaining about the Trump addition to the White House. I tapped on that a little bit earlier with some X-Tinction level tweets. But most of it's just people saying stupid stuff. Like, hey, well, look at that. Why is Joy Reid on the news again? But anyway, that's all I got for today. I'm going to go get ready for mine. You guys have a great one on your end. And we'll see you guys in the morning. And then this weekend, there's going to be probably a short segment on Saturday morning. I have a work event. But I will definitely be on here Sunday playing more. I almost said Assassin's Creed. Playing Ghost of Tsushima, continuing that journey. And then I might get on and play some Outlast since I didn't get to do it this past Monday. But I'll definitely be on Monday night, specifically on Twitch, but playing Outlast for our last wing of October. So thank you all very much. Take care of yourselves.